kulikuwa na mtu mwingine anaitwa Zedekiah Oyugi. Alikuwa na nguvu, alikuwa anaitwa Kalamu Manuo. Mimi nilikuwa dio. Akikupigia simu na huko kilomita 600 utasimama na kupiga saliti kwa simu. Akatumiwa vibaya na kupigiwa, mwishowe akafukiwa pale kwa GSU, akapigwa sindano, kichwa ikaharibika, akakufa. Hata assistant chief hakwenda mazishi yake.
There was a time in Kenya when power didn't just sit in State House. It moved silently through corridors, through whispers, through men whose names were never shouted in public, but feared in private. One of those men was Zedekiah Oyugi. He wasn't elected. He didn't campaign. But at the height of his influence, he stood closer to power than most politicians ever could. Then suddenly, it all vanished. No warning, no protection, no loyalty strong enough to save him. From the inner circle of the presidency to the cold, silent walls of detention. From a man who controlled access to power to a prisoner stripped of it all. This is not just a political story. It is a story of rise, betrayal, and survival. A story that exposes what really happens when power turns against its own. In the corridors of power, few names once commanded as much influence and fear as Zedekiah Oyugi, a man who rose from humble beginnings to become one of the most powerful civil servants in Kenya, only to fall dramatically, accused of plotting against the very government he served. This is not just a story of politics. It is a story of power, betrayal, survival, and a system that could turn on its own. Zedekiah Oyugi was born in Nyayo-era County in a modest rural setting. Like many of his generation, he believed education was the only way out of poverty. Through determination and brilliance, he climbed the academic ladder, eventually earning qualifications that opened doors into Kenya's elite civil service. And that's where his journey into power began. During the presidency of Arap Moi, Oyugi rose rapidly. He became a permanent secretary in the office of the president, a position that placed him at the very center of government operations. At the time, the office of the president wasn't just administrative. It was the heartbeat of power in Kenya. Oyugi was not just a bureaucrat. He was a gatekeeper, a strategist, and a man deeply embedded in the intelligence and security structure. Many believed he was among the most influential and elected figures in the country. But power in politics is never permanent. In the early 1990s, as pressure for multi-party democracy grew in Kenya, the political climate became tense and suspicious. Then came the shock. Oyugi was arrested and accused of involvement in a plot to overthrow the government of President Moi. The charges were explosive. He was detained without trial, under laws that allowed the state to hold suspects indefinitely. For a man who once operated at the highest levels of power, this was a stunning and humiliating fall. Oyugi was taken to Nyayo House, a place that has since become synonymous with torture during that era. There, he endured harsh conditions like many political detainees of the time. His detention symbolized something bigger: the dangers of being too powerful in an authoritarian system, and how quickly loyalty could be questioned. For years, he remained behind bars, cut off from his family, his career, and his former allies. Eventually, as Kenya transitioned towards political reforms, Oyugi was released, but freedom did not mean justice. He spent years fighting legal battles, seeking compensation for unlawful detention and mistreatment. His case became part of a larger national conversation about human rights abuses, abuse of state power, the need for accountability. In time, courts acknowledged the injustices suffered by detainees of that era. Unlike many who returned to politics, Oyugi chose a quieter life after his release. He stayed largely out of the public spotlight, focusing on personal recovery and reflection. But his story remained powerful, a cautionary tale whispered in political circles. Zedekiah Oyugi passed away in 2014, but his legacy raises critical questions. How safe is power in an unstable political system? Can loyalty ever guarantee protection? And how many stories like this remain untold? His life represents a generation of civil servants who operated in a system where power was centralized and often unforgiving. Zedekiah Oyugi's story is not just about one man. It is about a system, a moment in Kenya's history, and a warning about the cost of power without safeguards. Because in politics, today's insider can quickly become tomorrow's enemy. If you want more deep political stories like this, stories they don't teach in textbooks, subscribe, like, and share.